This is Andrew Phipps, and I invite you to be with us today for the Faith, Family, and Freedom program. Those words really stand out to me. Faith, family, and freedom. It pretty well summarizes what I think is all important. It encompasses the topics that we can put under the umbrella of priorities: our faith, our family, and our freedoms. And when we negate one, particularly when we leave out the faith in Christ, and when we leave out all of the other attending situations like our family and our freedoms, well, we pretty well give up on living, don't we? My good friend Jack Bember, a great teacher, sent me something not long ago, and here's what Jack Bember said. He said it was Joseph Stalin, the murderous, despotic leader of the Soviets, who said the following: "Education is a weapon whose effects depend on who holds it in his hands and at whom it is aimed. And the people who cast the votes don't decide an election. The people who count the votes do." These two statements encapsulate what has been happening to the United States for decades, and specifically over the past year. Although he was portrayed as a crazy zealot, Senator Joseph McCarthy from Wisconsin was aware of how great a threat communism and its followers were to our republic and free market capitalism. His attempts to rid America of saboteurs in government and influential society were met with anger and cries of extremism. 7 years later, we're facing the stark reality that perhaps Senator Joseph McCarthy might have been right. The current political operatives who are positioned at the levers of power are the grandchildren of the greatest generation, the grandchildren. That generation we call the greatest generation. They defeated communism, fascism, and the Nazi juggernaut. They would be unrecognizable today to their grandparents. This communist leftist mob that is currently running Washington, D.C., and most of our largest cities were educated in the atheistic universities during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. This is important to note, since because the 1960s, the professors in our major universities have been using education as a weapon to legitimatize the United States laws and the Constitution, while elevating communism as the only acceptable form of government. Is it any wonder that the election of 2020 was really no election at all, but it was a charade carried out in order to stop the president's defense of America's laws, the Constitution, and sovereignty? And I'm referring to our previous president. Thus, the election of 2020 was not, in many accounts, fair or legitimate at all. In other words, those that count the votes, those are the people that determine the outcome. Well, we have been weakened on the world stage. We've been resting power, freedom-loving Americans. It is madness. If that is difficult to believe, just look at the current state of affairs involving COVID. All Americans are told to get vaccinated or they are considered possible murderers. Unvaccinated Americans are being fired and isolated for being unvaccinated. Illegal immigrants are being ushered into the United States by the tens of thousands without being COVID tested or asked to wear masks. A United States citizen cannot re-enter the United States without a negative COVID test or proof of vaccine. This is just one area. The list is days long. We could discuss our dependence on foreign oil, our willingness to let American citizens be raped and murdered in Afghanistan, or the Speaker of the House's race to pass a $3.5 trillion package that has very little to do with COVID relief or infrastructure, but more to do with restructuring of America in the image of Karl Marx. The question must be asked then, for what purpose? The purpose of everyone seeking ultimate power has been constant since Eve's acquiescence to Satan in the Garden of Eden. The left wing wants to be as God, ruling their world without responsibility to anyone or anything. They need our wealth to buy their dreams. This new world order is nothing more than the old satanic order. It is a utopian fantasy which will bring ruin on everyone it touches. Marx and Satan always engender the same result. And I know that's a hard-hitting statement there by my friend Jack Bember, but I think he's right in raising the recognition and raising the scenario to a level, the narrative, to where that you and I realize that this country is under attack on so many fronts, economically, socially, and politically. And we'll say more about it after these announcements. We enjoy having a song. I know that so many of you appreciate that addition to the program. It's just a part of our heritage, and I enjoy it along with you. I really like good harmony singing that has a message. Mark Trammell has sung in different groups. He's been with the Cathedrals, the Kingsmen, and I don't know, he sang with Gerald Wolfe for a while. Now he has his own quartet, and I think Mark does a good job. I think he's a fine Christian man. He comes to us from Arkansas, and that's where his son Nick, they live down, I think, in Alabama now. But let's enjoy the singing of the Mark Trammell Quartet.
Now when the rich and the poor get together with the Lord, get together with the Lord, well, they will treat each other like sister and brother when they all get together with the Lord. Now when they all praise God, get together, hallelujah, when they all get together with the Lord, well, they will treat each other like sister and brother when they all get together with the Lord. Now when the tall and the small get together with the Lord, get together with the Lord. Well, now the weak are no longer afraid of the stronger when they all get together with the Lord. Well, when they all get together, when they all get together with the Lord, well, they will treat each other like sister and brother when they all get together with the Lord. Well, God has no favorites and we're all the same, they say. We'll see our many friends and our loved ones on that day. We'll all be so happy when St. Peter says this way. Then we'll sing, oh, now when we all get together, when we all get together with the Lord, well, they will treat each other like sister and brother when we all get together with the Lord, with the Lord.
impossible to have political freedom and not have economic freedom. In the creation of goods and services, the United States has been the envy of the world. This did not happen by chance. What we consider necessities is considered luxuries by other countries. The difference is the government did not dictate outcomes. The people were allowed to make choices. Where to work, what to produce, how many hours would we work, and what we would charge monetarily were part of an intricate system called free enterprise. The free marketplace allows for incentives, maybe the profit motive, and a system that rewards achievement. Built-in factors of private ownership of property, competition, and where prices are determined by supply and demand allowed us to have a standard of living far exceeding countries of our size and makeup. Government interference was to be kept to a minimum. Government helped best by simply providing the climate where aspiring entrepreneurs or risk takers could make an automobile, create a McDonald's burger, invent wonder drugs, and in turn make life longer and more pleasant for the citizen. Ballpoint pens, penicillin, air conditioning, microwaves, diet soft drinks, non-iron shirts, and computers are relatively new inventions, which the greatest generation knew almost nothing about in their teenage years. Yet it seems that there are elements within the United States today who wish to take us to a European-style, secular government, run type of socialism. In this economic models, wealth is redistributed, non-productivity is rewarded, and the government plans and commands the results. The government decides which businesses and services are important and what is produced. How many tractors, how many toothbrushes will we manufacture? Economic history has proven time and again that socialism has not worked. Karl Marx's famous line, "From each according to his ability to each according to his needs," may sound good, but simply does not take into account the nature of man. Liberals say they want us to feed the world, but so many of them will not feed a neighbor.
Well, this has certainly been wonderful so far, and I appreciate your being a part of it. Remember, if you or your church or you individually feel that what we're trying to do is worthy of support, well, you can always reach us at the contact information that's displayed from time to time on the screen. We certainly don't want to be begging, but we'd like to be a blessing to people, and you must do, and what you should do is however the Lord would lead you in your thinking. My background is my mother was from McCreary County, Kentucky, and my dad was from Wayne County, Kentucky. My wife's people, Shirlene's people, are from across the line there, but over into Tennessee in the Scott County area. And that area is a beautiful area. It also in Tennessee includes the Big South Fork National Park and Recreation area. But over in Kentucky, they have some beautiful scenery. The Cumberland Falls is there, the Cumberland Lake, mountains, the streams, Mill Springs. You can just seemingly go about anywhere and you'll be in some of the most beautiful country. It's just like God painted a beautiful picture over this region. And I always enjoy those people. They're my kind of people. I like the culture there. Those people, they love God. They love their freedoms. They love their family. And, you know, it was a way of growing up when I was young, you know, cornbread and soup beans, pinto beans, and fried potatoes. And I still to this day enjoy a good glass of buttermilk with cornbread put in it. I mean, cornbread the old-fashioned way. I like that way my mother and them made it in the cast iron skillet. But if you ever have an opportunity, and I know there's so many places in our viewing area that you all have such beautiful scenery, West Virginia, the North Carolina area, Kentucky and Tennessee and Michigan, up in that area, beautiful Ohio and just all over. And of course, here in Indiana, we have some of the most beautiful scenery as well. The dunes up in the northern part of the state, and some great parks like Turkey Run State Park and others. Well, we live in a great country. God has been good to us in this land. It encompasses so much. We have the boundaries there that have been established a long, long time. Just think that we have no boundary, as far as fortified boundaries between us and Canada. But we should have a wall on the southern boundary. There's no question about it. We cannot allow people just to come to America to be a part of a handout system or to be utilized as voters or potential voters. That is not the American way. Theodore Roosevelt said a man that comes to this country or a lady must first want to be Americanized. They want to be a part of our society. They like our laws, our Constitution. That's why that they should be required to take citizenship tests. Everybody that comes to this country ought to come legally. These people that come in here that aren't even tested for COVID or whatever, we allow them to come in here by the droves, by the thousands. If we don't have national security, our borders are secure, we're not a sovereign country. That's one of the requirements for any state, is that you have established boundaries that you recognize. We cannot become just the feeding trough of everybody that would want to come here. And then so many that do come don't want to be Americanized. They want to degrade our institutions, tear down our flags, and be very obnoxious to our customs. Well, that should not be, and we need a leader that will stand forthrightly against that. We need it at all costs, respective of your political affiliation. I think you would agree. It just does not make sense. Well, anyway, when I think about our families, I'm glad for our family. My mother and dad, they didn't have so much of education, but they were rich in many ways with things that money can't buy. They had a love for their family. They wanted us to be something. They wanted us to not be dredges upon society. We were supposed to be contributors. We were supposed to have manners, good morals. We were to respect the elderly. We were to do in our school work assignments what the teacher asked us to do. We weren't to go and threaten the teacher and blame the teacher because we weren't achieving. Well, so many things have changed, but one thing remains true: the God of heaven has not changed. He hasn't changed his mind. He still wants the best for us in every situation, and that desire is that he might have all men to come to the knowledge of the truth. And we'll be saying more in our next segment. Hello, friends. This is Andrew Phipps, and I believe that we need all of the materials that we can gather to help us as we combat the attack upon our faith, our family, and our freedoms. We need to be educated, and I have a handbook that has been given to state legislatures. It's been given to members of Congress. It's a colorfully created handbook that has graphs, charts, quotes, and different things in it. You'll be impressed with it. And also we have DVDs. We have CDs that are God and Country, Return to Greatness, and Faith, Family, and Freedom, some other wonderful materials. See the contact information on the screen. Be sure that you order some because these will be of a tremendous help. They are supplemental materials to help you in your Christian walk. And may God bless. Seems like the time goes quickly as we get into these programs. And by the way, we do have products just in case you might not be aware of that, we have a handbook that's on faith, family, and freedom. It's very colorfully created. It will hold your attention. Articles that deal with the family, that deal with our freedoms and our faith. Quotations galore. Pastors would love this book. We have DVDs that we made some in the nation's capital, and we have other products. We have a website, Andrew Phipps, and you can look it up under that, or maybe even put in the words faith, family, and freedom. We're on YouTube, so you can see some of the messages that we do. We speak around the country. I'm out of Liberty Baptist Church. It's an independent Baptist church. We're conservative. We use the King James Bible. We stand for the fundamentals of the faith. And if you're ever in our area in Muncie, we would invite you to join us for our church services. Everyone is welcome, and we try to be hospitable and give everybody a welcome when they come to visit us. And I know this, we need a touch of God on our services. We really do. And that has to start with me, and it has to start with you. Each one of us need to desire a closer walk. We need to desire that we be filled with the Spirit of God, that where others can notice that there's a change in our attitudes and in our behavior. We ought to be light to a world that's increasingly getting darker, it seems, by the day. I just think there are certain things that are worth contending for. Our Bible, our Constitution. It's the supreme law of the land, and I think people ought to get somewhat familiar with that. That's why when I was teaching government, it was always such a joy to talk about the foundations of our system and talk about how that we became a great republic. And so in your schooling, I hope that your kids can get the advantages of a schooling environment where God is not demeaned, where that we appeal to the redeeming social values, and we don't appeal to the lewd and base and prurient interests. And unfortunately, I think that's why so many people today are taking an increased look at homeschooling and that kind of thing, because they have gotten upset, and rightfully so, with the system that has seemingly become more indoctrination centers rather than becoming centers of education, of sharing information that's useful. I think any good teacher that has been certified to teach and knows his or her subject material ought to have the welfare of the student at home or and the classroom. But by the same token, the parents need to be concerned. And it's not the teacher's fault every time when somebody comes home and says, well, I didn't do well on my assignment. Now, by the same token, I think you and I ought to be vigilant in the materials that our sons and daughters are being asked to read. We ought to be very vigilant about that. And we must be diligent. If it means attending a school board, we need to do it. We need to oversee the materials and make sure that our principles are not violated. It's no need to send our kids to a place where they get bad information and have the wrong learning materials that promulgate a dysfunctional lifestyle, and then we try to correct that at home. So you have to use your own judgment. I mean, I know many have to look at it from a financial thing, but by the same token, your children, there's nothing more important other than the Lord, than the value that He has entrusted us with us and our children, our children and grandchildren. What a great treasure we have. You know, children are an heritage of the Lord. I hope you'll tell others about the program. It's exciting to be with you. We're going to do all that we can to make this program one that you will enjoy each opportunity. But until the very next special time, this is your friend, Andrew Phipps, hoping that you and your family have a great day. and God bless you.